Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this.
Now, that kind of talk this week dragged Australia's share market to a two-year low. There are, of course, complex reasons for that.
He was the big spender. The big spender.
Doing the grocery shopping could take a huge chunk out of the family budget.
And that's finance.
Hello and welcome to Comedian versus Economist. We demystify the world of money and help you get a handle on the bigger picture. My name's Adam and we're joined as always by my little older brother and real-life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, g'day, Adam. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Welcome to the show out there. If you're joining us for the first time, maybe a friend sent you. Hopefully they did. We would love it if you did that. We are trying to get as many people to listen to the show as possible. So if you could tell just one person, that would be amazing. Every little bit helps. I did notice, Thomas, we're up to 991 Instagram followers. I think 1,000 is the definition of viral, if I'm not mistaken, if I've been listening to the kids right. So yeah, 9 to go and then we are officially viral. So tag a mate, tell them about CVE, tell them Thomas sent you, whatever it takes. And don't forget FinFest happening October 15th. If you haven't got your tickets yet, tickets are available. First release tickets on sale now for just $47. It's going to be epic. Spots are limited though, so get in quick. FinFest is powered by Stake. And Thomas, big news today. Happy birthday to our mum. Sending you lots of birthday love from your favourite son, Mum. We obviously don't need to say who that is. Suffice to say, it's hard to imagine any parent wanting their child to be an economist when they grow up. So, look, did you ring her today?
No, I didn't. Yeah. Had a big weekend.
Let's hope she stays up late these days. All right, big show coming up. Let's get into it, Thomas. I have done a bit of research. I've been looking into bears, and if you are confronted by a bear, if the bear charges, your best advice to stand your ground. You cannot outrun it. Don't scream or yell. Speak in soft, monotone voice and wave your arms to let the bear know you are human. Thomas, I'd like to find out if the same advice applies to a bear market, because we're confronted with one of those at the moment. And solar farms in the Northern Territory are sitting idle, Thomas, doing nothing. Maybe it really is harder to grow sunlight than we thought. And face off, or at least hide your face next time you go into Kmart, because it turns out they're scanning your face when you enter the store. We're going to find out why. But first, the Fair Work Commission has done a fair job with a fairly decent wage rise for fairground workers and others. Thomas, will we fare any better as a result?
Yeah, well, I think sort of a good result for people on the minimum wage. They got a 5.2% increase, the biggest in 16 years. Yeah, so that's not a bad outcome. But remember that inflation's latest CPI is running at 5.1% headline. So that's just a touch over that and expected to go north of that. So really, the minimum wage is just keeping pace with inflation. So in real terms, it's holding steady, but this time next year will probably be negative. So it means a fall in real wages for people on the minimum wage.
Who's getting that boost then, the 5.1%?
5.2 is going to the minimum
5.2,
wages.
sorry.
Yeah, so they've done something interesting this year where they've split it up, which they don't normally do. So normally they just set an increase for all awards, and that for minimum wage and up. And, like, airline pilots are on an award as well. The award's like $200,000 or something, but
and best landing. Only given out to Top Gun though. Keep working if you haven't won the best landing award yet, and you're a pilot out there. Don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah. So normally the commission adjusts awards across the board, but this year they've given 5.2% to people on the minimum wage, and then they've done something else interesting where they've given 4.6% or $40, whatever's more. So they've got effectively got three tiers. So if you're on the minimum wage, you're getting 5.2%. If you're earning less than $869, you get $40. And if you're earning
just
more
a flat
than
rate.
Yeah.
Just $40.
$40. Yeah. And if you're earning more than $869 a week, then you get 4.6%.
Right. What's the idea there?
Well, the idea is it's more progressive in the sense that the poor get more. So if you're earning less, $40 is more than 4.6%. So so with 5.2 going to the minimum wage and then $40 to everyone earning less than $869. Yeah, if you're earning less, you're getting more with this kind of system. Yeah, so they haven't done this in a while, but yeah, that's what they've decided to go with this time.
People, this is a good idea or this is not a good idea?
Oh, it's a little contentious. I mean, obviously the unions and the people earning minimum wage, they're happy with it. They think it's a good result. Unions said it could have been more. Sort of some of the people in the business press were a bit unhappy. So Robert Gottliebsen saying it's have created a nationwide expectation of a 5% wage rise, which will act as a flamethrower to inflation.
Right. Well, he's not winning any awards then, is he?
Yeah. So
if we give out a 5% pay rise, his argument then is that it creates more demand in the economy when we're trying to cool demand by raising rates and doing all those other things. Is that the argument?
That's not the argument, though. You could make that argument. It's not particularly strong because it's not huge, but the argument is more that this is a cost that businesses have to bear. Right. And as the costs go up, then that'll get passed on in inflation. Into inflation as those costs rise.
Ah, right.
That's sort of, and that's why, that's typically the argument that the people in the business press argue for when they're trying to, make sure that people don't get big wage increases, that it's going to lead to inflation. Yes, it's bad for business, but we're really concerned about inflation. That's why we're arguing about it.
Are the CEOs of these big businesses that take often massive pay rises and massive bonuses, are they behind it, or are they sort of keeping shush on the matter, hoping no one will look at them?
Nothing to see here. Yeah. They tend to let the peak in business groups and industry groups speak on their behalf. So the Australian
keep
Council
a safe distance.
Yeah.
Also good advice when confronted by a bear.
Yeah.
So, Thomas, the ASX got hammered last week. Seems like the bears are everywhere. Bears are scary. Should we be scared?
Yes and no. I mean, last week was a bit brutal for the ASX. Had the biggest weekly loss since the COVID crash of 2020. So pretty grim. It was all came out of the US. The US inflation's running at 8.6%, which is a 40-year high. That sort of put markets and made them a bit nervous. The Fed came out and hiked rates by 0.75 percentage points, which is the largest increase in 28 years. That caused a bit of a sell-off in the US. That followed up in Australia, with the ASX sold off 5% on Wednesday. So that was a big downturn, sort of across the board. Banks, energies, technologies, everything's getting hit. So we're definitely in bear market territory now. So ASX is getting hit pretty hard. The S&P 500 in America is down 24% from its peak. The Nasdaq's down 34%, so it's pretty huge. Bitcoin had a brutal weekend as well. Dropped under $20,000 for a while there. That's now down 71% from its peak in 2021.
Wow, you'd be disappointed in that.
Yeah,
I know you were a big proponent of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to buy the dip once we get there.
Then moon.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing with that, the analysts are saying, just as a side note, saying that in 2018 Bitcoin fell 83%. So saying it's like it's just history repeating, and it will bounce back if that's true. And I don't know how true it is, but that would put a price target of around $11,000 for Bitcoin, down from 20% where it is, 20,000 where it is now.
It took a while to bounce back too, didn't it? Like it sat at nothing until COVID, and then everyone's like, "Crypto's on. If we're gonna beat this SARS V2 whatever disease it is, we're gonna need some cryptocurrency to deal with it." So the big question, I guess, is when will the bear market end? Like we've been heading downwards since early start of the year. Are we at the bottom? Do we know where the bottom is? How can we see it?
It's very hard to know, typically. One thought I have around it is that like a lot of it's been triggered by sort of reaction to central bank movements. The Fed and RBA are hiking rates, the general shift in tone globally towards tighter monetary policy. But humans are typically good at avoiding slow-moving disasters.
Are we?
Yeah, I think so.
Other than the stock market gradually being eaten away, what's another slow-moving disaster? A really slow volcano, just a gently warming.
Well, there's like
climate change.
We're not doing so well at climate change
avoiding
right now.
dealing with it. Yeah.
It's like about peak oil, that we were worried about that, but then that turned out to be not a thing. Peak food. Okay. We were very worried in the 70s that Australia just would not be able to grow enough food for a population of 12 million. Right. Turns out we can feed 24 million without a drama.
Crushed it.
Nailed it. Yeah, so because we react, so we can adjust, and as the crisis builds, we can, help get out the way. It maybe doesn't apply to all things. I'm still nervous about how climate change is going to play out, but I think the point is that we're talking about. You look at where markets are pricing interest rates to go from here, and people are freaking out about that, and then. But that involves a picture of central banks hiking rates full bore into an epic recession and then just keep pushing and pushing. And that's not what's going to happen. That, they meet monthly for a reason. They adjust and then see how it plays out, adjust and see how it plays out. And if the wheels really start coming off, then they'll take a breather. So in that context...
I don't, pay a lot of attention, but... Some of the stuff I've heard out of the US is they're pretty much like, look, we're just doing whatever it takes to get inflation under control. We're going to adjust. This is all bets are off. We'll send the economy into the ground if we have to get inflation under control. So I hear what you're saying. They're meeting monthly and whatever, but at the same time, they're like, every month they're just getting together going, how are we going? Nah, still no good. Righto. Rate rises.
But if you get into a deep recession, that's not consistent with inflation, with consistent inflation. And at the moment, it's all supply shocks. It's all supply chain disruptions, energy prices. Those things will come out of the inflation data unless they keep going up and up. Do you know what I mean? And commodity prices just today, they've come off the boil. I expect energy prices will as well. They can't keep going up from where they are. So the inflation shock enters the system, and then once prices, even though they just plateau out, if oil prices stay where they are, which is very high, but if they stay where they are and don't change, then they're contributing nothing to inflation. And if they return to normal, which is probably what they're going to do, then they start subtracting from inflation.
Right.
So
the answer to my question, when will it end? We don't know.
We don't know.
Soonish.
Yeah. Well,
soonish, but maybe not.
I mean, there's people in the markets now saying this, that the adjustment to monetary policy that is priced in has already been priced into the market. That the falls so far are forward-looking and involve a normalisation of monetary policy and things getting back to normal. And it's already priced in.
Because there are still some people saying that it's transitory, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's agreeing that this is permanent inflation.
No.
I think is it Janet Yellen? Is that the one in the United States?
Yeah.
She was coming out today or yesterday saying, still see this as transitory.
Yeah. I've got time for that argument. As I was saying about energy prices, they've got to keep contributing to inflation, they've got to keep going up and up and up. And it's just not possible. And I think a lot of the supply chain disruptions are starting to sort themselves out. We're sort of managing around what's happening in the war in Ukraine and what that's done to wheat prices. We're adjusting. It takes time to adjust, but we adjust. That's what markets do very well, is they absorb shocks and adjust quite seamlessly sometimes. So it takes some time, but I think that's what we're seeing.
So the big question I've got when I talk to a lot of friends and whatever, they're like, where do I put my money? How do you know where... you don't want cash because inflation's eating away your cash. You can't, the market's going down, or has been at least till now. What do you do with it? Where do you hide it?
It's really tricky. I mean, interesting. Chris Joy wrote an article in the AFR the other day, which is interesting, saying everyone says cash is bad in inflation environments, but you've got as interest rates go up to combat inflation, then your basic term deposit starts paying more and more. Cash under your bed is losing value, but cash in a term deposit is doing okay. It's not the dead end the deadbeat option that people talk about it being, just holding cash, because you don't just stick it under your bed.
But then you can't deploy it if it's in a term deposit. You can't deploy it when Ethereum turns the corner and starts heading north.
Yeah.
You can't dump it all back into CoinSpot account. So
no, investing's hard. Yeah, but I mean, if you go back to the start of the year or to like the peak a few months ago and said to me, where should I hide my money? Like to me in the future, like I couldn't give you an answer. Like there hasn't been an asset class that's survived the sell-off of the past couple of months. In broad terms, like specific companies have done well or specific things have done well, but not broadly. Like bonds haven't done well, the share market hasn't done well, crypto hasn't done well, property hasn't done well. None of the sort of the
gold. Is there any takers for gold? Gold's not done well.
No, I don't think so. No.
And the digital gold hasn't panned out.
No.
Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, even commodities. So commodities down. Now I don't know how they would compare to like a month or 2 months ago, but they're a bit of a sell-off today. So
right.
Yeah. So there isn't sort of this particular round. There hasn't been anywhere to hide. But then I don't know. Going forward, it's a bit tricky to know.
So how do people time the market then? Like, is that?
Well, they don't really. Like, it's very hard to time. Like I read something the other day saying Jonathan Philpott from Wealth Management in the US is saying the S&P has had declines of between 10 and 20%. That's happened 29 times since the end of World War II. And saying on average, it only took 4 months to recover those losses. So it's not that long in the scheme of things. It feels really hard when you're seeing your portfolio getting smashed, but typically it only takes 4 months to bounce back.
It feels really hard. It's not as hard as explaining to Anna what's happening to our portfolio because she left it in my capable hands. I'm really regretting don't you know I do a finance podcast?
Yeah.
Argument when everything was rosy. And I said, we're going to get in. We're missing out.
Yeah, the other point this guy makes is that while it takes 4 months to recover, the big recovery days typically happen very shortly after the bottom of the market. So it bounces back quickly, but you don't know when that bottom is. But if you're waiting for a clear signal that the market's turned, you're going to miss those big recoveries and you're going to potentially lose money. So his point is like, you don't try to time the market. It's very hard. No one can. No one's got a crystal ball.
This reminds me of my beat the bomb days on Triple M when people would ring up trying to beat the, $100. $200 and they had to go stop. This market's got radio game show written all over. All right, let's take a break here. We'll grab a quick word from this week's sponsor and be back with more. We're going to be talking about the energy crisis as well as facial recognition technology coming to a shopping centre near you, all on Comedian versus Economist right after this. Welcome back. You're on Comedian versus Economist. You can send us an email if you like, cve@equitymates.com, or get us on Facebook and Instagram @CVE Podcast. Only 9 more followers on Instagram before we hit the magical 1,000 mark, which totally meaningless, but still fun nevertheless. Thomas, we covered off the energy crisis a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure everyone is well across skyrocketing electricity prices. Have we fixed it now? Where are we at?
No, we haven't fixed it, but we're getting some more plans.
Got some more data, some more plans.
More plans. Yeah, no, the federal government, end of last week, the federal government's Energy Security Board released a draft plan not an actual plan, just a draft one for a new capacity mechanism.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So in this one, we're going to pay electricity generators not to produce stuff. Actually, that's it. We're just going to pay them to have stuff available when we need it rather than just produce it. So currently electricity generators get paid to produce. We're going to pay them to keep some redundancy in their capacity.
So just like we at home might just turn the heater on when we need it, and use some power, they're just going to have the coal stations just sitting there till there's enough heaters on and then fire them up?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it's just making sure there's enough. Yeah, there's excess capacity in the system. That's sort of the plan. What the mechanism's going to do. There was a lot of talk about whether coal or gas generators would be included in that. So whether they would pay fossil fuel generators to stay on and just have that capacity. The board said having that in the mix was important. They refused to rule it out, but the states will have the final say in what goes into it. So Victoria's Energy Minister Lily D'Ambrosio came out and said, yeah, they're happy with the flexibility. It's always been clear for us that a capacity market wouldn't make payments to fossil fuels. It's got to go to zero emissions technologies. So that's how Victoria is going to work the mechanism.
So what they're saying, we're only going to pay for solar or whatever.
Yeah, If we have to pay for extra capacity in the system, we're going to do that with solar and wind farms and things like that, with zero emissions tech.
We're saying to the energy producers, don't stop producing energy unless we need it. But then the states then have to top up the shortfall. Is that what you're saying?
No, the states will manage the capacity mechanism. And so when they're paying, the states will decide which generators to pay in their state to provide this excess capacity.
Good. All right. So will all this work? Will it fix the problem?
I don't think so. Not reading of it. Like, I don't even think it really actually addresses the problem.
Certainly makes the problem more complicated, I feel. Makes it much harder to know what the problem is, which might be useful, particularly for politicians.
No, that's right. I mean, it sort of potentially just gives more, like some of the critics are calling it coal keeper, because it's just paying fossil fuel companies to keep, actually not even just to stay alive, not even actually produce anything. So one, like if you want to increase supply, if that's the problem, like when we had my mate Tim on The Energy Economist a few weeks ago, the thing he kept pointing out was that it's really about infrastructure, that there is a lot of like solar farms and renewable tech projects ready to go. They're just waiting for the infrastructure that allows them to connect to the grid. And that's where the bottleneck is. It's in that connectivity to the grid. So the ABC was running a story during the week, which is interesting, saying that there's 4 big solar farms have been built in the NT over the past few years, but all of them are sitting idle and not supplying energy to the grid.
Right.
So the panels are in place. They're in a field. The sun's hitting them, and that energy is not going anywhere. And it's substantial. So there's Any Energy has a 25 megawatt facility near Katherine and 2 10 megawatt solar farms at Batchelor and Manton. And another company, Rimfire Energy, has a 10 megawatt facility at Batchelor. So they're
just reflecting light back into space. Maybe that's why, did you hear China detected aliens this week?
I did hear that.
Aliens are just like, whoa, stop shining light in my eyes.
Yeah, so it's a bit like, if supply is really the problem, then like create the systems to bring all that potential tech online. Just get that infrastructure in place. Seems to be a more logical route.
Right. So we're just waiting on an extension lead to hook up to the solar farm.
Yeah, pretty much. That's
Come on.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's
ScoMo's got his phone plugged into it. We're just going to wait for him to...
he's charging his phone off his solar farm.
The other thing is that supply is not actually the problem. Like the national electricity energy market is oversupplied. Supply is greater than demand right now. And I've got a chart. I'll share it to Instagram. We have an excess of supply. The problem is the price. And the reason price is a problem here is because energy prices are set on a global market and we're paying global prices for our energy.
Can't we just stop participating in the global market?
Well, we could if you had a domestic reservation. So when we talked last time we touched in on this is one of the proposals that could fix it is a domestic reservation, which is what Western Australia has. Their energy prices are much lower than the East Coast. Yeah, so as a domestic reservation would fix that problem, would fix it for us. Yeah, and that would support the local industry and manufacturing, which, could be a good thing. There's a lot of, the real danger here is that it hollows out the Australian economy, that a lot of businesses that rely on energy to survive, which is, almost all businesses really, they just go broke because they can't afford to pay it. While the mining companies are selling, 75% of our gas goes to China. And the Chinese government funds, has direct support for Chinese industry. So their manufacturing sector is doing well, but ours potentially gets hollowed out. So there isn't a coordination here, which means that it seems to me to make the Aussie economy a bit vulnerable. It's not a great situation.
Who's got to fix it? I mean, is this a business thing? Is it a government thing? Is it a federal government or state government?
I think
who's on the hook? Who do I write to?
You're right to. I reckon it's a federal thing, because I think it's a big enough crisis that we're talking about the viability of the Australian manufacturing sector, and we've just come through COVID where we realise that we can't rely on global supply chains completely. That we're quite vulnerable to these big shifts. We're trying to, Anthony Albanese ran on a platform of making things here and reinvigorating Aussie manufacturing. So when energy prices are through the roof, that totally kills Aussie manufacturing. So it's a nation building, to use that cliche. It has that implication, and so and I think the federal government has the capacity to make some real serious changes, particularly like as my mate Tim was saying, like invest in that infrastructure that brings all these renewable energy projects online, allows them to plug in, and then look at either a domestic gas reservation, a domestic coal reservation, or like what the UK Tories have done with a windfall tax, where they tax the super profits of the resource companies and then funnel that back to households through grants, and you could funnel that back to Aussie companies as well to help them manage. Would be a good start. But tinkering with the capacity just seems like it's kind of willfully missing the point to me.
Whoever built the solar farm in the middle of the outback, not near anyone's house, I think probably has a lot to answer for as well. Like, we wouldn't need so many extension leads if they just built it next to where people are living. But it's there now. So let's all pull together and maybe, I don't know, let's gather up your extension cords, and we'll see if we can, what do they call it? Arms around the world. Extension leads around the country to the nearest solar farm. Right, Thomas, finally, I'm hearing people are up in arms about facial recognition technology and being used at the shops. What's going on?
Yeah, so Choice magazine had a expose.
Juicy.
Yeah, last week, saying that 3 major retailers in Australia, so Kmart, Bunnings and The Good Guys, at least 3, there might be more, are using facial recognition technology in their shops and not doing a very good job of letting customers know that that's going on.
Bunnings have had facial recognition technology for years.
Have they?
Or as we call him, Tony. When I go there, he always says, "G'day, Adam." You recognise me straight away. Like, wow, how does he know? How does he know it's me?
Yeah. Is Tony an AI?
Tony's just the guy at the front of Bunnings. Yeah, right. I guess I kind of assumed this was happening. I don't know. Maybe I'm
really?
too open. Yeah,
facial recognition. I don't know. It feels a bit Big Brother to me. I didn't realise. It's like, like I get it if you like, it's a diamond warehouse and there's like Tom Cruise is going to have a heist and kind of break in. You want some facial recognition tech, but it's Kmart. Like, what's going on, man?
He's back the 3rd time this week for homewares. No, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've just reached a point of complacency with my privacy. I just assume it's out there. Like, I don't know. What do you do? Shop online. That way, instead of your face, they're only getting, your browsing history, your shopping preferences, your shoe size, your bloody marital status, your name, address, God, everything but your face. If you shop online instead, like, I think we shouldn't overstate how much we're giving away by letting our face appear in Kmart's shopping feed.
Oh yeah, I mean, but there's a difference here. Like, I think they talk about, like you are aware of that if you read the terms and conditions on your online shopping. You get some sense of that. Like, but no
The
one,
cookie pop-up, the thing that pops up and says, we use cookies. Are you okay with that? And everyone just blindly goes, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I don't know what cookies are. I like cookies.
Yeah. I didn't know this was going on. And like, I don't know if I haven't really thought into it, but I feel like I would have liked to have been told. And that's what Choice is saying. Like there's really limited signage. Customers are almost completely in the dark about what's going on there. 76% of respondents.
If they were really in the dark, we wouldn't be able to see their faces.
But those 76% said they had no idea that it's going on. It's a bit different. And the thing is, it's sort of like, it's what Choice highlights, is it's in a bit of a regulatory sort of grey zone, is because you're not supposed to collect any biometric data, or particularly biometric data under the Privacy Act, unless you really need to. It's not
I think
clear.
the Privacy Act's all about, like, you shouldn't be collecting any data that you don't have a purpose for. So you need to have a demonstrable purpose for why you're collecting data. And it applies to anything, like forms or whatever. Like if you're on the web and you say, hey, I want you to register for our site, you can't just say, oh, we need your passport number. It's like, no, you don't. I'm just buying a toothbrush through Kmart online or whatever. You don't need my passport number. Like, it's irresponsible to collect that information. So I don't know. And I think it's a security thing, presumably, isn't it? They're trying to stop theft and...
I guess. I mean, that's what when I read the Privacy Act, it's like, well, who defines need? What if Bunnings says, well, I need to sell it to people, all this information we're collecting. It's part of my business model.
You can rest assured we'll be selling it at everyday low prices. Man, I can't believe this is a thing. We've literally been covering up our faces for 2 years, and everyone was outraged when we had to move to masks. Everyone's like, I'm never wearing a mask. It's my right. You can't cover my face up. And now we take the mask off. We finally got rid of the mask. Everyone's like, what? You're looking at my face? You can't be looking at my face. Like, make up your mind, people. What do you want? All right, I reckon that probably does us for this week. Don't forget to check out all the other great podcasts from Equity Mates. Get Started Investing, Equity Mates Investing Podcast, You're in Good Company, Talk Money to Me, Crypto Curious, and The Dive. And of course, FinFest happening October 15th. Head to equitymates.com/FinFest. And if you've enjoyed this show and you've enjoyed our other shows, then please tell a friend, spread the word. That would really help us out enormously. But Thomas, that's it for us for this week. We look forward to your company again next week. It's bye for now.
Comedian V Economist is a product of Equity Mates Media. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of Comedian V Economist are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from a podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Equity Mates website, where you can find ASIC resources and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Equity Mates Media and the hosts of Comedian V Economist acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.